For as long as humans have roamed the earth, the concept of community and the development of a sense of togetherness are ideas that can be seen as nothing but foundational throughout the existence of our species in this big and frightening world we live in. As the most intelligent and dominant creatures on this planet, this is nothing but assumed to be a capability of ours to have the right to attain such a title, and it is exactly because of this value for unity and collaboration of ours that we've been able to develop nations, implement government structures, and create many technological advances, all for the sake of our potential to succeed on this planet we have claimed ownership over. However, as time has passed, as alliances and loyalties have become ingrained throughout generations, and certain ideologies have turned into indoctrinated precedents, we humans have seemed to have forgotten these roots of ours that focus themselves on brotherhood and mutual trust. Instead, we have abandoned those initial practices in favor of becoming divided, living amongst hate, and discriminating against those who do not share the same beliefs or external appearances that one does. This course that we have set ourselves on leads to nothing besides our collective eventual ruination and self-destruction as a people. This detrimental shift in the behavior of our species can be fully showcased within an analysis of the concept of immigration and its intersectionality with the notion of being seen as a foreigner from a foreign country, which has caused such people to develop an unfounded and undeserving negative connotation, resulting in great damage to our perceptions of those individuals and their lived experiences. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the idea of being foreign is described as one that refers to being born in, belonging to, or characteristic of some place or country other than the one under consideration, and can often be described with phrases like alien and the other. With the development mentioned prior by individual nations across the globe, such creation inevitably led rise to ideas like loyalty, nationality, and a sense of unity with those in that shared environment. Now, while these social constructs are natural and healthy occurrences that can help such communities thrive, if not kept in check, such emotions can become a superiority complex of some form, which is the reality we now find ourselves in, where immigrants have been portrayed to be nothing but evil, parasitical, and corrosive monsters to the nations in which they invade and barge into. With such a portrayal, one would assume that the act of immigration is a weapon of sorts, and that immigrants are full of nothing but malice and an urge to destroy all that is good around them. However, this is so far from the truth that the mere fact that such an interpretation exists is both deeply saddening and frightening in itself. Immigration is the act of choosing to leave one's native country, often the only place that they have ever called home, to establish themselves elsewhere and pursue aspirations not achievable in their native homes. Immigration can represent an opportunity to seek out proper education, act on professional aspiration, or even as a means of escaping violence to ensure the safety and welfare of one's family. Often used as a counter-argument against accepting immigrants is the notion that these people are detrimentally affecting the economy of the nation they are invading by removing jobs from native inhabitants and requiring resources to help acclimate them. A 2011 article by the Wall Street Journal not only discredits these claims, but reveals the truly shallow and derogatory implications behind such an opposing viewpoint. It does not take much effort to see just how beneficial and impactful these individuals can be for a nation, when the WSJ staff writes about how migration can potentially lead to global gains of $356 billion for developing countries. Immigration is by no means a costless endeavor. However, I believe people have misconstrued the reality of the situation and have taken advantage of irrelevant factors like economic cost to fuel their biases that wish to withhold the liberties they enjoy from those foreign aliens who are willing to uproot their entire lives to potentially attain and experience such privileges for the first time. To choose to become an immigrant is one of the most difficult choices an individual can ever make, as it essentially asks someone to abandon all that they have ever known for the possibility, not guarantee, of something more in a new and unknown environment that most likely does not share the same cultural values and or language that they are accustomed to. Yet instead of embracing and applauding such individuals for this risky choice, we choose to outcast them in the vilest and most violent ways possible. The fact that immigrants inherently assume the title of being foreign only detrimentally compounds their situation, leaving them in an endless state of rejection, alienation, and isolation from the same environment they specifically sought out to accomplish their goals. So I ask why? Why is it that immigrants are viewed in this way? Why have people crafted this horrible image about people, fellow humans, who have simply chosen to move to a new country? Is that so bad? Is it that unforgivable and distasteful to want to pursue a better life, a better situation or setting, a better hand of cards? According to an article by the nonprofit and independent organization, the Council on Foreign Relations, they report that as of 2020, immigrants compose around 14% of the U.S. population, which is around 45 million people, and this value is only estimated to continue growing to the extent of possibly reaching 36% by 2065. Do we then truly believe 45 million people are all nothing but uncontrollable and scheming main demons of society? To continue having this view is quite evident to be a poor choice that will not only further create an increasing level of antagonism and division amongst us, but dissuades the idea itself of advocating for oneself and pursuing the things one would like to accomplish. Are we to deny entry and socially alienate others simply for being born in another country? Are we to deny the mother who wishes to save her children from continual exposure to crime from escaping such violence? Ignore students wishing to make a difference and help the world, all for being foreign? As a future educator of our society, I refuse to continue accepting this destructive ideology that has been allowed to run rampant within society for too long, and I strive to instill values of acceptance, compassion, and genuineness in my future students for the sake of promoting a future for them in which they can all respect, appreciate, and love one another without exception. That is why I call for an abolishment of the idea and the word itself that is to be foreign. I believe that to continue accepting this word as an acceptable way to define and classify others is a foolish decision that only cements our inevitable fall as a species. As humans, we should abandon this instinct of ours to create borders in ways that allow us to separate each other, and this starts by identifying people as a collective and as we, rather than as the other and by them. Attempting to dismantle social constructs and precedential connotations like those attached to immigration is not an easy task by any means. However, if we are to have any hope for the future state of the world and the generations that will later inhabit it, we can start by addressing the invisible language we freely utilize to begin destroying the toxic perceptions we have been permissive towards for far too long. Thank you.